Hey AJ, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm well. I saw that Saint Motel is actually going to be coming here to Louisville in April.
Yeah, man. Back in Louisville.
Be good to have you guys. Who are you on? Who are you on tour with at that point? I saw it's a stadium show.
Yeah, it's with Panic at the Disco.
That's right.
I wish we could. We don't have that kind of fan base. So
Yet
it'd be really rad to play with these guys.
that fan base is quickly growing, though.
I mean, hope so. It's like little baby steps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been so impressive to see, what's happened with you guys because, the new record, Saint Motelevision, so much fun. It's really great. But, heading back to that EP, I mean, that really did seem like it blew up.
Yeah, the EP definitely kind of brought us into a new, I think, awareness of the band. Because we've been an independent band for such a long time, playing all sorts of dive bars over this great country, and then the EP kind of brought us to Europe for a little bit, and then back to the U.S., and we were kind of received anew.
Were those songs written before or at the same time as the tracks that ended up making the new full length?
For St. Television,
Yeah.
it was kind of a mixture of stuff from around the time of the EP all the way to like about a month before we started mixing in June, and some of it was written on the road while we were touring on the EP.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it was written back in downtown LA, and yeah, it was kind of just a nonstop process. It wasn't as much of, all right, we're going to go make a record, let's disappear for a month and get it done. It was kind of just ongoing for that entire couple of years.
Interesting that it's almost like those tracks can't be separated, even if they're written, 2 years apart or something like that. But those songs that came later in the process, did you feel like there was any difference in writing them because of the success of what was happening with the EP?
No, I don't think that there were any kind of pressures on us to go a certain way. There's basically just a batch of tons of songs, just never stopped writing, and probably 100, and then we would narrow it down from there, and then we produced out maybe 25 of them with Lars Stelfers, Tim Pagnata, and Frederick Tay, and from those it got narrowed down to those 10. So it was kind of like just an ongoing democratic process of narrowing it down. So it was a bit different as far as an album approach for us.
What's impressive then, and maybe it says, maybe it's the strength of the songs, it says a lot about them, but you used multiple producers, right? Yet somehow there's still, it's still such a thread of this album. Like a lot of times when bands use more than one producer, even if it's just two, you can sort of hear the difference, but I don't really get that in this. It still sounds like an album.
Yeah, I think, a lot of that has to do with the songs kind of start in-house where the production really begins with all the songs. And I take them a certain way. And then these other producers we work with kind of add their own insights, and we change things out or replace them, or it's kind of like it all comes from the same foundation. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a cohesiveness there, and that plus we had the wonderful Mark Needham and Dave Cooley, mix everything and master everything. So there's a cohesiveness there. But yeah, they are a mixture of different vibes and different places, I think, that we were. Mm-hmm. But there's a thread, hopefully, that you can weave between everything on the album. That's the goal, kind of a bit of a journey through all the songs, but something that feels cohesive and Saint Television.
For you, being as close to the songs as you are, and the album still being as new as it is, are you able to hear it like that, or do you hear every song like where you wrote it or how you recorded it? Does it sound like an album to you, or is it still just a scattershot of America when you hear these songs?
I mean, it sounds like an album to me, but still, when I listen to it, I think of all sorts of different versions of the songs, or mm-hmm. things that maybe would have been fun to still tweak, or I never really have heard it so far as a completed product. It still has always been an ongoing process. I figured maybe like 5 years from now, it'd be like, oh yeah, set. But we're still, tweaking it all live and working on different versions of stuff and remixes, and it still feels like malleable at this point, if that makes sense. Even though it's not by any means, but it still feels kind of like the separation, the cord hasn't been completely cut,
right.
I guess.
I mean, there's so many things happening on this record too. Like, some compliments. The song ELISA, how it breaks down. It seems to me like into almost an old Hollywood sort of sound.
Yeah, I mean, we've never really had much of a guideline, when we're approaching this stuff, which has been good and bad. Like, I think, that's kind of why maybe it took us so long to catch on. We kind of just did what we kind of liked, and sometimes that wasn't really what was the craze at the moment. But it just seems like, as long as you're making a song that you're trying to go for like a timeless, just focus on, I guess, structure and lyrics, and I think, I don't know. That's kind of all you can hope for.
I wouldn't mind hearing about one of the songs specifically, and that's "Born Again," because it's fun, but it also seems like you're playing around with religion on that. Like, what's going on in that song, and how did it come about?
Yeah, that song, it's funny. It definitely has been getting a lot of reaction, mostly for that, I think. It's interesting, too, because it's kind of walking a line where you're not really sure where it's pointing, and it's based kind of on a story of a friend of mine when I was growing up, and I don't think it's taken any side, really. I think the way I see it, there's almost kind of a innocent, naive aspect to the concept of being born again. Starting, and as illogical as it might be, and as weird as it was for me at that point in my life, I don't know. I think we're not taking a stab at anybody, really. This is kind of just, interpret it how you will. And people, I guess, on both sides of any issue, people are reading it different ways, which is totally fine and kind of fun to see. So.
Right. I mean, again, mark of a great song right there. If you can, bring any kind of reaction out in multiple types of people, then you've won already. So
yeah, I hope so.
Well, cool, man. Well, we're really enjoying the record, and I appreciate you talking to me today. And we'll be looking forward to seeing Saint Motel at the Yum Center in April.
Absolutely, man. We'll see you soon.
All right, take care.
All right, talk soon.
Bye.